Hey everybody, welcome back to the High Performance Zone. Today I have Norma Diaz. She is the CEO of Community Health Group. The really interesting part about her story, here's a girl when she was 14, started working, and as now 61, 35 years she's been with the same company and 20 years as the CEO. What we dive into though, and she's Latino and a woman making a difference out there in the world, is the deep wisdom that she has learned over her life. And this wisdom is, I think there's 5 things I'm going to do in my life that have changed because of this podcast. So I really hope that you get a chance to deeply unpack her story and how she uses that as CEO, but more importantly, how to help people. I know for me, a couple of one was that ability to take someone's breath away. When you see someone coming, do you choose to spend time from them? Can you see it in their eyes? Also this idea of, does it make you cry? Is there something that connects to you in your heart, not just your head? And we talk about so many life lessons. Best of all, Norma is a friend and one of, I guess, my mentors out there. So enjoy this interview and put it in action. We also talk deeply about compassion, the real essence of action, not just empathy, but taking action. And she gives some great specific examples of how that's done. All right, Gucci and Norma, ready? Hit it. Hey, everybody, super excited about having Norma Diaz with us in the house. And Norma, you and I have really gotten to know each other for over 2 years now. But I'm kind of curious, let the audience know, how did we meet, Norma? And by the way, welcome to the High Performance Zone.
So, thank you, John. So I don't know if you remember, but I met you over where the Chopra Center is at in Carlsbad.
Oh.
And the audience, I went to a conference that was put out by Med Impact, and I love all of the conferences that Med Impact puts on, but they always have very, very good speakers. So it doesn't really matter if I was planning to go or not. I always plan on being there when the speakers are there. And so I'll be real honest with you. I didn't know anything about you. Okay, so let me put that out there. But I did have I've been the chief executive officer for 20 years now. And one of the first events that I went to had to do with, I think it was like either Toastmasters or one of those programs that they do, in the community. Yep. And there was a speaker there, and his name was his name is Chris Witt. And Chris Witt, I fell completely in love with his speech. Okay, so I hired him to help me put together a speech that I was going to do. And it was my first speech as the CEO. And I was really concerned about the speech that they asked me to do, because I kept reading it and I was like, that's not me. That's not me. That's not my heart. That's not my soul. This doesn't represent who I am. So I asked him if he would help me prepare for it. And he said yes. And he's like, I don't write speeches. I don't do this. So anyways, he came to my office and he said to me, how will you know if you are successful at the end of the speech? And I said, Chris, the reason I hired you is because I was in the audience and you got to me, you got to my heart, and you made me cry. And I do not hire speakers that don't make me cry. And he said, what? I said, I don't. I said, so my audience is going to be about 800 people. It's my first speech. So if I could make one person in that audience cry, I know that I got to them, and I know that I got to their heart, not to their mind, their heart. And I said, and I will consider myself successful. And so when I went to see you, you left me crying.
Oh,
crying. And there was a couple of people from work that saw me crying, and they go, oh, she's going to hire him. And so when you were wrapping up, I got up and I started walking towards the stage, and my staff already know that, and they were like, oh, there she goes. Watch, she's going to be the first one. And I was the first one to greet you when you came down from the stage. And I'm like, hi, my name is Norma, blah, 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 blah. I don't care who's behind me. I need you to come talk to our staff. I need you to come. And so that's kind of like a rule of thumb that I use, that if I'm in the audience and you're speaking and you don't make me cry, then I'll probably just, kind of like the fog. It comes in, it comes out, and nobody ever knows. But if you make me cry, and it's in a good way, it's not in a bad way.
Right.
That's why we hired you, and so, and it's like a running joke because I told the board of directors about you and they go, oh, he made you cry. And I said, yeah, I said, he made me cry. So to me, that's very important because all of the work that we do here,
Yeah.
it's difficult work, and so, to me, it's like if you cannot get to somebody's heart, then you're not going to be good at the type of work that we do. And my heart has always been in this organization. I've been here since I was 14 years old. I'm 61 years old now. And, I still come to work with the same excitement that I did my first day on the job, and so it's just, and it's not that I don't get tired. It's just, it's my heart, and so when you are working for a purpose, your purpose never really, you don't get tired of it, you don't get tired of it. And so yeah, that's how we met.
Norma, thank you. What I just want to say is the reason that I wanted you on the podcast and so many people want to hear from you is kind of what you just talked about. You started at 14 years old. I want people to hear your story. I want people to understand some of the choices you make, why people matter so much to you, whether they are the participants in your program or in this case, just an individual who works for you. You're one of the most successful CEOs that I've met. You started at 14, at the bottom of an organization. You're now a CEO. You're one of the most successful women, Latinos I've met around. And my hope is that we unpack some of that secret sauce that's in your heart, because that's what I think will make the most difference. Before we go into right away at 14, what were you hired for? Do you remember what made you cry that day? And by cry, I think you're talking about an emotional connection, right? What was it that day? Do you remember even?
It was probably the story of when you talked about when you wanted to become a pilot. And then I don't remember the whole story or where I heard this one, but it had to do with the fact that you were either you went to the Air Force because you thought that that's where the Blue Angels came from or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's not that you wasted all of this time, but you went through all of that stuff and you talked about how crushed you were when they didn't let you in for whatever reason. And then it was like a blessing in disguise because it was in the Navy. And I was like, oh, wow, this happens to people. I thought it just happened to me, I wanted to be a social worker. Like I wanted to be a social worker, and it didn't work out for me. It just, for a lot of reasons, it didn't work out for me. And I was crushed. I mean, I was absolutely crushed. And at the very beginning, I could not see how I was going to get out of that. It was very difficult for me not to be a social worker. And I remember, as the years went by, my husband, sometimes when they ask him about me, he'll say, oh, no, she's not CEO, she's a social worker. And I just go, yes, I'm a social worker, And so those are the kinds of things that, you don't plan for. And it became a huge blessing in my life to have that happen to me. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, he's saying something that just doesn't happen, it didn't just happen to me, it happened to other people. And that to me, I think it just brought a lot of emotion. And so you connected with me because I just go, wow, you understand me. I've walked in your shoes, you've walked in my shoes. And I think it's really important to always keep in mind that in order to understand people, you really have to understand what they've been through. I've cried. I know what it's like to cry. So when I see like one of our employees in my office, I don't have to try to understand. I understand because I know what it's like to cry. I know what it's like when somebody tells me, our house burned down. They don't have to try very hard. And I think that for me, people always ask me, well, what is your leadership style? And I don't know that I have a leadership style. I have lots of things that that I think make up who I am. But I think that one of the big things for me is that I feel like my leadership is rooted in compassion. And I believe that I became a very compassionate person. I can tell you what dress I was wearing, and where I was standing.
Wow.
I was 6 years old, and our house burned down, and my mother was in the house, and she had severe burns all over her body. And I remember being 6 years old, and I remember the ambulance coming to the house to drop her off after being in the hospital for a very long time. And I remember I saw her, and I was, as a daughter, 6 years old, I was in so much pain, like I could not handle the pain. And I think all of the adults were too busy trying to welcome her home, get her situated, making sure that everybody was okay. And I think that people forgot about the little kids. And I was one of the little kids, I was 6 years old. Wow. And I remember being there, and I said to myself, I will never have kids.
Oh, you're kidding me.
At 6 years old, I said, I will never have kids, because I said, I love my mother so much. And she's causing me a lot of pain just seeing her that way. And it wasn't on purpose, obviously, right? Right. But my heart just hurt so much from seeing her like that I said, I would rather be the person that gets hurt all of the time than the person that causes somebody else that kind of hurt. And I said, if I ever become a mother, they're going to love me. And if something happens to me, they're going to suffer. And I don't want my kids to suffer. So I said, no kids. And as I grew up, I always said, I don't want to have any kids. And nobody believed me, because everybody was like, but Norma, you love kids. You're always around kids. And I said, yeah, but I just don't want to have my own, And it's being Hispanic is very difficult to find a man that doesn't want to have kids if you are going to marry somebody who's Hispanic. So that was a very difficult, thing for me. But I never, ever doubted, since I was 6 years old, that I would never have kids, because it was just, it's not going to happen for me. And people were like, oh, you're going to change your mind. Now watch me. So, when I had boyfriends here and there, and they were like, oh, and how many kids do you want to have? Bye-bye. It's like, I don't even want to discuss the topic, because it was just never part of who I am. And I think that at 6 years old, I learned what it was like to be compassionate towards someone, because my mom, she was burned a lot. And my mom would say, I need you to get good grades in school. Boom, I would do it. I need you to make oatmeal for your brothers. Boom, I would do it. Can you sweep the thing? I would do anything that she would ask me, just to see her smile, just to make sure that she didn't, worry about, because she had a very long recovery, really long recovery. And by the time that I was probably 10 years old, I went with her to the doctor, and I did not like the way that she was treated, not because they were rude to her, but she had a lot of scars, and it's not pretty to look at, and people didn't know how to react to her. And I remember going like, she's not a number, she's a person, and she's got feelings. And I was like, someday I'm going to have your job, and someday people are not going to be treated the way you're treated. And that's how it all happened. And I think I must have been like in the 5th grade when I discovered my passion for doing this. And, life just kind of, the universe, that's my word, just kind of put things in place for me. And I remember one day that there was a gentleman, he was the principal of our junior high school, and he had a program that was called Work Experience. And I think I was like 13 or 14 years old. And he was really excited about this program. It was in the Sweetwater School District. And instead of having kids go to all of their periods in the school setting, what they did is they said, for your 7th period or your 6th period, we're going to have a little bus that's going to pick you up, and they're going to take you, to a work site, and you're going to work there for an hour, and then they're going to bring you back, and then you can go home. And I remember he was so excited on stage in the auditorium. This is when we still had auditoriums. Yeah. And he rolled out the program, and he said, now, how many of you are excited, and how many of you would like to sign up for the program? And nobody raised their hand. And I was like, I'll do it, if anybody else wants to do it. And I raised my hand, and there must have been like 300 of us. Wow. I distinctly remember raising my hand, and my life changed. From that moment, it changed, because I was like the only one. And he came up to me and he said, "Thank you, Norma, for not embarrassing me like 100%." And I said, "No," I said, "I want to do it." And so I said, "But do I get to pick where I go to work?" And he says, "Yeah. And if there are partners, we'll put you there." So I said, "Okay." So I picked the place where I did not like how my mom was being treated.
Wow. So this is the person that you wanted to be at that moment was what? The receptionist, somebody who's meeting? Okay.
The receptionist, the person that greets, what
Right.
I call the face of the organization. Because I don't care if you have beautiful policies and procedures, whatever. If the person that greets you does not do a good job, then the tone is set right there. And I was so eager to just like, I'm going to show you how to be. I didn't know anything about being a reception, but I was like, you need to treat people with compassion. You need to treat people from your heart, not from over here. And you shouldn't be walking away, and don't put distance. And at the time when the patient walked into the lobby, they were given a number, literally, like where you go to the meat market and they give you a number and they say, "Number 7, come on up here." So that's what happened. And I was just like, my mom's not a number. She's like a person. Her name is Maria. And she's in a lot
What's her name again?
Her name is Maria.
Maria. Got it.
So she's in a lot of pain. You have to help her. So I was so eager to go in the work experience program and to be the receptionist, because I was going to teach everybody how to do it right. I was only like 13 or 14 years old.
Oh, that's great.
And then the funny thing is that the little bus would wait for me and then take me back to the school. And I was just, "Why are you taking me back to school? My house is I live right next door to the clinic." But they had to, for liability reasons.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had to walk 3 miles back, and it was hard. And so many, 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 many years later, my husband and I were on our way to like some carnival downtown here in San Diego, and we got on the trolley. And that teacher, that principal was there.
You're kidding.
I ran into him in the trolley, and he came up to me. He goes, "Norma?" And I said, "Yes, Mr. Mercado, how are you?" So we kind of like reconnected. And he said, "My whole life, I wanted to apologize to you." And I said, "For what?" And then he said, "Because that program that I got you into, thank you for saving me, whatever." And so I wasn't 100% embarrassed. And he said, "But, the program failed." And I said, "What do you mean it failed?" He says, "Yeah, it didn't work out. They shut it down after you. The only reason they didn't shut it down, while you were there with the work experience program, because you were there and you were the only person and you were so excited. So they decided to keep it till the end of the year, but you were the only person that participated in the whole, I think it was in the whole district." And I said, "You think that the program failed?" And he says, "Yes, it did, Norma." I said, No. I said, "I think that the program was 100% successful." And he says, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, if you make a difference in somebody's life, don't you think that that's, like worth it?" And he goes, "Of course." I said, "That company that you send me to?" "Yeah." I said, "I'm the CEO of the company now."
Wow.
Like, "What?" And he goes, "But Norma, you started there as a clerk." I said, "I started out as an errand girl. Then was a clerk. Then I had to work my way up to being a receptionist, because they didn't open the doors to reception right away, because they were like, the reception position is very important in the clients." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I'm here." So I told him, I said, it was 100% successful. There was one person in the program and one person made CEO. So yeah, here I am. And we hugged and kissed and whatever, and we kept in touch, but it was just one of those things that, I happened to raise my hand, but that stuff never, it was a comfortable place for me to be in, because, when I was in the 5th grade, I was like, with my friends, I was the only one that never talked about getting married. I was the only one that never talked about having children. I was the only girl in the bike club that was just for guys. I was the only teenager in the YWCA. I was the only person that went to conventions, when I was 13 and 14 years old. And then they asked me to speak, and I got up there and spoke in front of 200 people. Who cares, whatever. I fainted one time. I don't know if I was nervous or just whatever, didn't eat. But, there was a lot of similarities. And, I was the only student that volunteers to help the teachers, grade the papers, so I used to do all of the spelling stuff. And my friends were like, "Hey, let's go out to recess." And I go, "No, I have to grade papers." And they were like, why are you wasting your time with that? And I go, I'm not wasting my time, because if I have to grade, how to spell the word, sanitize 30 times, I'm going to remember that. So I did very well in spelling. So there was a lot of like odd things that I did. I was the only one in my group that applied to go to San Diego State. I didn't tell anybody. I just did it. I was the first one to get a job. I was the first one to do this. So I was always like out there.
Right.
I had teachers along the way that said, you know what? This is your dream. Nobody's going to work harder for this dream than you are. So you have to make it happen. You cannot be saying, this is what I want. This is what I want. And there's no action behind it. Right. So I was kind of used to being like, I wouldn't say a loner, because that's not the right word, but just doing things on my own and not thinking about it, because I kind of grew up that way. Yeah. And, my teachers never taught me to be scared of something, so I wasn't scared. Nobody ever taught me to look in the mirror and say, oh, you're a Latina, you're not going to make it, it's going to be hard for you. Nobody ever taught me to look in the mirror to say, you're a woman, it's going to be very difficult, you're going to have to work twice as hard at the math. So I didn't grow up, in that environment. I'm lucky and I get it and I understand, but there was just a lot of things, that I wanted to do. And so I've always been, in my eyes, a little bit unconventional, a little bit weird, a little bit, like, no, I don't see things the way that you do, yes, sir, you're going to have to work a little bit harder. So, so what,
Okay, perfect. I got an idea now. First off, thank you for that incredible story. I think everyone who's listening, at least myself, learned so much. There's so many takeaways. There's so many powerful things in there. Let's try to unpack a couple of them, because what you just said, you aren't conventional. You are unconventional in a beautiful way. And you've found a way to turn that into success. And I think a lot of people could learn from that. So the first thing that I'm kind of curious with, and it was just, you were blowing my mind with so many of the beautiful, deep lessons. You started with compassion, right? And you said you learned that when you first saw your mom, right? Mm-hmm. Coming back. What does compassion mean to you? When you say that word, what does it mean? And how do you use compassion in your everyday life?
So, my own definition, okay?
Yeah.
When somebody tells you that they're going through something, you empathize with them, right? So you just say like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry you lost somebody, I'm sorry you did that. And to me, compassion, in my mind, I learned to see it as, yes, you have to have the empathy.
Yes.
You have to have action. And so to me, compassion is that you empathize with someone, but you also try to do something to help the situation, because I could have employees who come into my office and they say, I lost my mother. So I'm just sitting there going like, oh, okay, thank you. And it's not enough. Okay.
Right.
And I have like the perfect example this last week. You and I already talked about it, but I took, that saying that says, don't judge a book by its cover. So I have this thing, don't judge a class by the title of the class. And I took a class that's called Death Acceptance, okay? Yeah. And the reason that I took Death Acceptance was because of my father, because during the time when the fire, whatever, I was really scared growing up, thinking that I was going to wake up the next day and my father wouldn't be home. Like he left my mother, he left her with all these children, whatever. There was 3 of us at the time. And because I was very young and I overheard conversations that were not meant for the ears of a 6-year-old. And so my aunts and neighbors, they would all say, oh, what do you think Adolfo's going to do? Is he going to leave Maria? So that would that's not something that a 6-year-old should be. It's not a conversation for a 6-year-old, Right. I was just like going like, oh my gosh, like my father's just a very important person. And I just didn't want life to surprise me. So I learned to plan for things. And believe it or not, I took this class called Death Acceptance to plan for how I was going to navigate when my father left this world.
Wow.
Okay. And I was, 17 years old when I took the class, and everybody thought that was weird. I thought I was weird, but it didn't matter. Okay. Right. So I took the class. Okay. And I was like, this is not about death acceptance. I thought I was taking it to accept my father's death, which he died, I think, like 14 years after I finished the class. But it was more about what do you do with that space between the day that you are born and the day that you die? So what did you do in that space, right?
Yes.
And it was about living. And Ms. Benter, okay, did the class, and she had us write down all of our goals. She had us write down, you know, the names of the people who were important to us and why they were important and what you wanted to do and what you didn't want, what kind of a car you wanted to drive, how many countries did you want to do. So she gave this assignment. And at the end of the assignment, okay, she gave us our journals and she said, now go live your life this way. And I was, hey, you tricked me. This was not about death acceptance. About my life, how to live my life. And yes, how to accept that death. Okay. So that was, I think, 44 years ago. Okay. And about a month ago, one of the employees came to me and she said, I've heard you talk a lot about your dad. And I said, yes. And she said, my father is dying and I don't know what to do. And I could have just sat there and listened to her. Okay. But she had a huge impact on me because I didn't know how to help her and say, you know, he's got terminal, I think it's terminal cancer, and you have to get prepared, you know, you have to do all of that, because the class that I took was more about how to live your life. And I was like, with your dad, you should do this, you know, if he wants to go somewhere, go with him. And it wasn't enough for me to empathize. And believe it or not, John, because of you and because of how to be grateful and, you know, express your gratitude, I started talking a lot about Miss Benter after 44 years. Okay. And I started to think about her and I started to look at my life and I was like, this is the longest homework assignment that anybody gave me. And I'm still doing my homework and she's not even here to grade me. The first time she graded me, I got 100 points and now she's not around. And believe it or not, I found her. I absolutely found her. And she came to see me and a bunch of people.
And she had changed her name too. It wasn't easy to find her, right?
Easy to find her. It was easy for Annabelle to find her, but not for me. And I found her. And at first, I will admit, I wanted to be very selfish. I didn't want anybody around. I just wanted the two of us, reconnect, you know, whatever. But then I go, oh, wait a minute. So-and-so's dad is dying. You know, she would benefit from listening to her.
See, that's compassion in action right there. Yeah.
And that's what I mean about action. So I talked to her and I said, okay, it's just me. I want to talk to you, but I have all these employees that could use your wisdom. Would you mind if I brought them over? And, you know, I brought them over and I brought this lady that talked to me and she went there and it was a very emotional, a lot of people cried. So it was a very successful meeting. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
We have a new definition for successful meetings. Okay. Got it.
You know, that's what compassion is to me, because I could have just left it at that. And instead, I, you know, got on my high horse, decided to look for her and kind of like, I hope you're alive. And she wrote me the most gorgeous response ever. And then when she was here, you know, I mean, for a teacher, she felt like, you know, people take classes with us, the students take classes with, but we never really know what happens to them. So she wanted to come to see where I was at. And then it turned out that there's 3 or 4 people in the company that had taken classes with her. So I invited everybody. And she said something like, you know, thank you, Norma, for this. And thank you for giving me one of the happiest days of my life. And I didn't realize I was doing that for her. I was doing all of that for the employee who was losing her dad. And I said, you know, it's not enough for me just to listen to you. I have to find you some help. So now they're connected.
Oh, beautiful.
A teacher exchanged phone numbers with about 5 or 6 people who were there. I'm going out to lunch with her on Friday by myself, and I'm not telling anybody where we're going. Okay. But that makes me feel good. That warms my health, myself. And I feel like as the CEO, I already know that she's having a difficult time. You know, how productive can she really be at work?
Right.
To help her. So as an employer, I feel like I have the obligation to try to do something and get her back to a productive, situation or productive space, because she's talked about that day. And she just said, she wrote me these 2 letters after we were there, 2 days later. And she wrote this thing like apologizing to me, like, Norma, I'm sorry that I wasn't more articulate. I'm sorry that I wasn't more this. And she says, but I was full of emotion for what you did for me, blah, 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 blah. And then she gave me another one. I go, what's this? And she goes, this is everything I had in mind. This was my perfect speech. If I had not gotten emotional about it, this is everything I plan on saying. I thought it was one of the cutest things, and I just said, I'm glad that you cried. I'm glad that you let it out. I'm glad that you connected with her. I didn't feel like I had the skill set to help you through this situation, because it's a little bit more complicated than just her father dying. I said, but I had to connect you with somebody that I believe can help you. She goes, but Norma, you hadn't seen her for 44 years. And I said, I'm a very stubborn lady. And when I get something in my mind, I will accomplish it. So to me, that's what compassion is about. It's just like, it's the empathy plus the action. What did you do to the person?
Wow, there's so many, again, stories I want to unpack there, but it was interesting. I don't know if I had shared this with you before. I was having dinner with the Dalai Lama's translator, Trungpa Rinpoche, and there's about 8 of us having dinner after he had given a talk, and this question came up, which is, what is the difference between empathy and compassion? And he gave your exact answer, Norma. He said exactly that empathy is ability to feel somebody else's pain, but compassion takes action. And hopefully that action is wisdom, right? You're able to share something of knowledge, something that will help the person, not just, listening. So it's unbelievable that I think you believe a lot in meditation. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. And what's interesting to me is that I think you're an old soul. You know how when people are young and they're above their years in wisdom, and you just describe that in so many ways in your story. They say that that's a possible old soul. It has come back, reincarnated with all this beautiful knowledge. And whether you believe that or not, to me, it doesn't matter. The idea of being able to serve and help others. So thank you for that. I want to go further into some of your story, but were you able to live that? I'm curious, when you wrote, how to live, not how to die, were you able to actually accomplish those things that you wrote?
I accomplished probably about 98% of the things that were on there.
Okay, give me a couple fun ones.
So one of them was there was the homework assignment was, give me 3 goals that are personal, 3 goals career, 3 goals job, 3 goals of a dream, 3 goals of whatever. And then there was 3 impossible goals, things that you could not tell anybody about.
Okay? Great question.
That you could not tell anybody about, but they were your own secret thing. And if it happened, that would be great. If it didn't, it was like, someday, maybe if I have the time, I want to do this. Okay. So one of the things was that I would buy a house by the time that I was 30, and I bought my first house when I was 25 years old.
Wow.
I said that I would only drive square cars, and I've never driven a round car. I don't like round cars. There's something about them. I like square cars. I said that
what do you mean a square car? Give me an example.
Or like my car is a Mercedes-Benz. It's pretty square, but like I could never drive a sports car.
I got you.
Cars and they're small, they're round. No. I'm too scared. And my first car was an Impala, the big.
Yep, there you go.
Impala. So I wrote stuff like that. I wrote that I was going to travel. I keep count of I have a map at my house, and every time we come back from traveling, we put like a little pin. So there are 239 pins on my map right now.
39?
239.
239. Whoa. And that's places you've been, right? Yes. Okay. How many of those are international versus the US?
Probably half.
Really?
Yeah, half. Yeah, I started traveling when I was 14 years old with my first paycheck, by the way. And then I just kept on going. And then I was lucky enough to marry somebody who loves travel.
Yeah.
probably more than I do, so it works out they're my children. Traveling is my children.
Well, I mean, people have maps for their children to show where maybe the parent is or whatever who's traveling, but you have, your own map. Now tell me, why is travel important to you? What do you learn from travel?
So my dad used to have a big, what do you call it? The atlas book.
Yep.
And my dad always wanted to travel, but he couldn't travel because he didn't have any money. And so my dad was my hero, and everything that he did, I wanted to do. He loved tequila, so I like tequila too. He liked this, so he liked cold pizza. I like cold pizza. He liked In-N-Out burgers. I like In-N-Out burgers. But he wanted to travel. Like, he really wanted to travel, but he said that he couldn't. So he said, I hope that someday you will travel and I will travel through you.
Wow.
That is like, oh wow, my dad said I have to do this, And
Wow.
one of the biggest trips that I did, or my first big trip, was that I wanted to go to Italy, and I saved 5 years to be able to go. And I went for a month, and I went by myself because I couldn't find anybody to go with me. But my dad was like, just go. Don't tell your mother that I'm supporting you in this because she's going to kill me. But my dad said, if you want to go, you might have to go by yourself. Are you willing to go by yourself? And I was like, hey, I was in that bike club with all those guys, and I was the only girl. So I went by myself.
Great.
I went by myself when I was 24.
Now, sometimes you learn more being by yourself, right? Because you're forced to meet people, not forced, but you have a better ability, right? Or you tell me.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I went there, and I didn't know what it was like to travel by yourself, but I was so happy that I was, making one of my dreams come true, that I don't think I missed anybody being around me, because the adrenaline, it was wonderful. And then many years later, I took almost my entire family with me, and I go, oh my gosh. My brother says, Norma, I can't go with you. And I go, yeah, you can. I go, I need somebody to go with me to the Vatican so I can, put my arms around the pillar and somebody take a picture of me because I didn't get my picture. So I learned to do like a lot of stuff like that. And it was from my dad that I would always catch him looking at the atlas and saying, I want to go here, I want to go there. So then I go, okay, that's where I'm going to go. That's where
Wow.
He told me he wanted to go with Italy. He wanted to go see the Vatican. And my trip was about the Vatican. So I came home and, just talked to him for hours about the Vatican.
Wow.
He made me call him every day with my boyfriend in San Diego, me in Italy, because he said, you're going to Italy with your boyfriend. I said, no, he's staying. So my boyfriend come to the house, and so they could call me. So my dad would be sure that he was in San Diego and I was in Italy. And
wow. Oh, I see. You're a smart dad. There you go. So back to, by the way, a brilliant course. I think all of us should maybe take that course, right? As far as writing 3 things. I really like this impossible one. Can you share any of those?
Okay. So when I was a teenager, they didn't have these type of glasses. They had glasses that were very thick and your eyes look really small. Remember those? That's how. And my teeth were crooked and everything. And they had a program that was it was a modeling. I think it was called Barbizon School of Modeling or something like that.
Nice. I've heard of it. I remember it. Yes.
I used to dream about it, and some of the girls who were my classmates, they came out on the cover of like teen magazine or something like that.
Yeah.
So my secret dream that I would come out on the cover of Vogue magazine because I like them. So
you go. Thanks for even sharing that. That
was my impossible dream. So when I wanted to come on the cover, so I actually my homework assignment, it's like you had to write down whether you did it or you didn't. Yeah. So when I turned 40, I became the CEO, and I came out on the cover of San Diego Metropolitan magazine. So I said, I didn't come out on the cover of Vogue, but I actually came out on the cover of San Diego Metropolitan. So that's good enough for me, because it was supposed to be someday, maybe if it happens, it's great. So I was actually more proud that I was there because I had been, with this company for such a long time, because it was about my career. It wasn't about wearing makeup or looking nice. And, by then I didn't have my thick glasses anymore. So that was one of them. And then the second one, don't laugh, was I wanted to marry Michael Nouri. I don't know if you remember the movie Flashdance. And it was the guy, in Flashdance. I was like, I'm gonna
Oh,
marry him someday. It was my
but he wanted to have kids, so that
Yeah.
probably wasn't going to work.
yeah, that was gonna work out for me.
All
And
right.
so then years later, I got married, and I have a picture of Michael Nori in my house with him in a Porsche and roses. And then I have Joseph with the same Porsche and roses that he gave me like at 2 o'clock in the morning, or something like that.
Oh,
And the third one was I was going to write a book, and my book was going to be about one of my mentors. And I modeled it after, what's it called? Tuesdays with Maury.
oh yes.
So
Yes.
I mornings with Maxie, and Maxie is one of my best friends. She's 96 years old right now. And at
Oh,
the time I was going through a very difficult time in my life. And she was just like the person that hugged me, that took me into her home and whatever. And one day I came to her house, and she gave me the keys to her house. And she says, honey, you don't need to call. You don't need to do anything. When you just feel like checking out from the world, this is your bedroom. And to this day, I still have the key. I've never used it,
right.
but to have somebody do that for me, was like, wow, you are very special. So I wrote a book about all the lessons that I learned from her, and in this book, I tell her how much I love her, how much it meant to me to have her in my life at that time. And so I wrote it, but then she didn't want to read it. And I said, this book is not for anybody other than for her. So even though my book didn't get published, I still wrote a book. I know I did.
Yes.
I burned it. I had a burning ceremony. I got pictures of the burning ceremony with my nieces and my nephews.
Wait a minute. Burning ceremony. What do you mean? What did you do?
I didn't want anybody to read it. I was afraid that one day I would have an accident, I would die, and then somebody would find that book, and I didn't want anybody to read it.
It'd probably be a huge bestseller. In fact, there maybe is a publisher listening right
It's
now.
possible because I burned it. And my husband's like, write it again. I go, no, that's just something that you write,
Okay.
in the moment, and you can't do it. And I'm not sorry at all
Right.
that I burned it, because it was between the two of us, and I just wanted her to know what it meant for me to have her in my life at that time, and it's when she gave me the keys to her house that I was like, wow, nobody's ever done anything this nice for me. Like I've gotten a lot of presents, a lot of stuff, but to have somebody give you the key to their house, it's like, you trust me in your house, and
Right.
she said, just come and go whenever you want to. You don't have to call, you don't have to ask. This is your bedroom. And she fixed it all up for me really nicely, and put a tea kettle and, tea and whatever. And she says, just turn off the lights and forget about the world. And I did. For 3 years, I went to her house, consistently. And
Yeah, you did. You actually used it, you said. I mean,
I did, but I never went without her knowing that I was going.
oh, without her knowing. That's what I was confused earlier. Okay, good.
The key on
Yeah.
but I called her and I go, Maxie, can I
Right.
come? And she would say, yeah, go ahead. And
Okay, we're going to go back. We're going to come back to trust in a
Mhm.
minute, because that is a great example of extreme trust. But before we do that, there's so many thoughts that are going through my head. One of them was this burning ceremony. So this morning I did Qigong. You know what Qigong is?
I think I do, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, they call it a soft martial arts. So a little bit like Tai Chi, a little bit like yoga. And it's really nice because it's not just movement. You do have movement like we do every Tuesday. Okay. In fact, I got a new exercise to show everybody come Tuesday. But the idea of also that, we're connected to like different organs. You want to do this and all this kind of stuff. Okay, I'm going to be totally raw. So today it was all about your lower bowels, your big bowels, whatever those are, the large intestines. And so we were doing exercises to loosen that up, and guess what? I've gone to the bathroom 4 times today. Okay. So it works. All right. But anyhow, the reason I want to bring it up is, so today is the first day of autumn. And autumn signifies with the nature, leaves changing colors. I know that hasn't happened yet in San Diego, but it's officially the first day of autumn. And it's more about letting go. Right. And that's hard for a lot of people. And you just gave, and me too, you just gave a great example of letting go by burning the book. What were you letting go at that moment?
A lot of pain that came into my life.
Okay.
personal pain, it was work-related pain, it was friendship pain. It was just, when you are in a job like this, not everybody will be happy for you or your success, and so there was a lot of things that happened to me that were work related, and it kind of spilled over into my personal life. And I just needed to let go of that pain. And the way that I did it was by writing everything out and by asking Maxie, what would you do? And I have always been the person that most of my friends have always been a lot older than me. I'm 61 years old. She's 96.
Wow.
And so
is she still alive, by the way?
Still alive. Yep. I still talk to her. I just took her out for her birthday. And my nephews are 20. They love her.
Wow.
And she was just always a very old soul, like you said, very wise. And every time I got to a situation where I didn't know what to do, I'm not the person that goes around saying, okay, can I trust you? I can't afford to just be that open about the stuff that's happening here. I like being transparent, but there are things that I have to keep confidential. So in my mind, I remember like all my great teachers, all the people who are experts, and I would go, okay, if you were Maxie, what would Maxie be doing? If you were Audrey Hepburn, because I like her a lot, Audrey Hepburn, what would Audrey Hepburn do? What would Jackie Onassis do? What would Miss Venter do? What would, Grace Kelly do? So I had all of these mentors in my head, and some of them were real people that were in my life, but some of them were people that, I saw through, history or whatever. And so that always like really helped me out. And one of the things that I learned from Maxie is letting go, just letting go of things. And I had a difficult time with that because I used to equate letting go with quitting.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I'm not a quitter. So to me, it was like, I'm not quitting. I can't let go. Letting go means that I'm quitting. And one day I went to go see the Dalai Lama with 3,000 of my closest friends.
Right.
And he dealt with two topics that really, like, I left crying again. Okay. And what he talked about was forgiveness, and what he talked about was letting go. And one of the things that he said about forgiveness is you forgive people not because of them, but because of you. Because you deserve to have peace in your life. And in my head, I grew up with the notion that if you don't forget what somebody did to you, then you really have not forgiven them. Right. And what Dalai Lama said is, I'm sorry, I don't believe that that's true, because that was one of the questions. And what he said is, you should forgive people, but you should never forget what they did. And I was like, thank you, Lord, for giving me permission to hold on to
that's brilliant. And why do you think, because first off, you have tremendous mentors, and I've never heard this before from anybody, and I've done hundreds of interviews, but having a mentor that just in your own mind, they may not be actually alive even, but someone, that's a great tip. Finding people you would respect and maybe ask them a question. Why do you think the Dalai Lama, or more importantly, the essence that you can forgive without forgetting? What's the lesson behind that?
I think that it's the way that I interpreted it was, you're not forgiving the person because of them. You're forgiving them because what it does for you, because it gives you peace, not them. Okay. And I felt that I've had some people who hurt me pretty badly. Okay. And I was a person that I had a very difficult time forgiving them, because I felt that forgiving them meant that I was weak. Okay. And so I didn't realize, let me rephrase that. I think I realized how strong I am when I had to learn to forgive somebody, okay, when they weren't even sorry for what they did to me. Okay. Right. And that was very difficult for me. And I forgave them, and I never received an apology. And it's like, okay, fine, but you just because the person isn't sorry, just because the person is not apologizing to you, doesn't mean that you don't. And it's hard to forgive somebody when they've hurt you so much. And, they're not sorry, and sometimes I think for them, in time with the conversation that we had with the Dalai Lama, he talked about the fact that some people cannot say, I'm sorry, because saying I'm sorry might mean that they were wrong. And they don't want to admit that they were wrong in hurting you, So he said, oh, the people are over there. So, but this is about you. You have to have peace. And I remember my first very big disappointment with the friendship, betrayal, all of that stuff. I carried that for 10 years. And one day I remember I got so tired of the weight of not being able to forgive this person that I literally just, from work, I went to her house. I knocked on her door after 10 years and she opened the door. And literally I said, I just want you to know that I forgive you. And it doesn't matter whether you understand where I'm coming from, but I cannot live without forgiving you anymore. And I know you don't. And I said, I know you don't care, but I need to say that to you. And we became friends again. We became friends. But I needed, to this day, I just went out to dinner with her 3 months ago. But I know what it did for me for 10 years. And I can't even say that it was pride that got in the way. It was the hurt. Yeah. It was the hurt. And all those 10 years, I don't even think she thought twice about me, but I was so hurt for 10 years. And I was like, we're missing out, in our lives. We could have been together. We could have been friends. But, she couldn't apologize for something that she didn't recognize that hurt me, and it was just, it was bad. But, listening to the Dalai Lama really helped me, put those things together. And then he said, and once you forgive, you don't forget. Just because you don't forget doesn't mean you don't let go. You just let it go, just put it out there into the universe and the universe will take care of you. And I believe that stuff, that's my space. That's where I feel comfortable.
Wow. Okay. How about some other unconventional wisdom things that you've learned? So that was brilliant, by the way. Thank you for sharing that about forgiveness and really letting go. I do know that you use meditation a lot, but you do a lot of things. You take, of all the people I know, you take more courses, you go travel. Now I see why you travel so much. It's one of the things, but you learn a lot about different tools I will give them for whether it's personal or business. I know how successful you are as a CEO, and everybody who's listening is probably blown away, at least I am, with how you worked in the same company from 14, to 61. You're a CEO. That's amazing, right? All these other things. But what are some lessons? What are some lessons that you've learned through your courses or your experiences?
So I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned through all the courses, because I'm a certified mediator, a certified meditation instructor, that I've never taught a class. That's not why I did it. I did it for me. Okay. Yep. But I think I have this daily obsession to be very consistent and to do things. I have these habits, but they're habits that are fun so that they don't seem like it's a habit. You know what I mean? So I enjoy getting up early. I just love getting up early. I love going to the beach early in the morning. I like being by myself. My house is my sanctuary. I love to travel, and yet my favorite destination is my house. I want to be at home. It's where I feel safe and protected and everything. So I like getting up at 4:00 in the morning. I just kind of wander. I've been in my house for 20 years, but I still wander and look at each room and everything in the kitchen and the this and the that. And so I'm very consistent about things. And I'm also very, there was this gentleman many years ago that I met the first week that I was a CEO. And he said something to me that offended some of my coworkers about me. And they told me, how come you're not offended about what he said about you? I go, because he's right. And what he said to me is, he goes, you're a very deceiving person. And deceiving? I said, deceiving, yeah. And I said, I am. And my coworkers were like, what the heck? And I said, no. I said, he didn't say that in a bad way. Right. And everybody kind of links the word deceiving to something that is very negative. And I said, look at what he said to me, because I walked in and I was very quiet in the conference. And then the teacher said to me, Miss Diaz, do you have anything to add?
Hey, I know this thing started that way. So we know you can talk. This is great.
And I have people in my life who think I'm the most quiet person they have ever met. And I don't see myself as a quiet person. And then I have lots of people that say, do you ever shut up? Yeah, I do, and there's just a lot of things about me that people don't know or don't understand. And sometimes when people pick up things about me, I connect with them and I call them my spiritual friends, because I go, oh, you have to be very spiritual to get that part about me, And like one of the things, like the other day, I had somebody who came to me and they asked me, Norma, can I ask you for a favor? And I said, sure. And they were like, Norma, can you teach me how to pray? And I was like, beautiful. I said, okay. And I said, how much time do I have? And there was other people listening and they were like, what the heck? You don't pray. And I just like, okay. I said, I never leave my house without praying for 45 minutes, exactly 45 minutes. And I've been doing that, for more than 25 years, ever since my father died. I said, I've been doing that. And they're like, but you never talk about it. I said, well, there's lots of things I don't talk about. Just because I don't talk about them, it doesn't mean that I don't. I have a very special relationship with my Catholic priest that I've known since I was 6 years old. And we're like this. Wow. And nobody really knows them. People see his pictures on my wall and they're like, what's wrong with her, But I never leave my house without praying. So this person, I said, do you believe in God? And he said, no. And I said, okay. So that was like a big challenge for me, right? So I went to the store where one of my meditation instructors is at, and I bought a little heart, okay? And it says, pray with your heart. Oh. So I gave it to him and I said, here. I said, if you follow the instructions on this little heart, you will learn how to pray like I do. Because what do you say to somebody who doesn't believe in God, who's 30 years old and wants to start learning how to pray at 30? And I say, what got you there? What happened in your life that now you feel like you have to have, that skill set? And he says, I just want to learn to pray like you do. And people who know me were like, but she doesn't pray. And I said, oh, honey, I pray a lot more than you together. I said, I may not be like at church every Sunday, but you know what? And sometimes, and it's this conversation that I have that's called With Love from Jesus. And I listen to it. It's the first thing I do in the morning. I get up and boom, I go put it on my, I still use the tape recorder, or CD player. And I just listen to it. And it
wait, what's it again? What's it called?
It's called With Love from Jesus.
With Love from Jesus. And this is something that you have it on a CD. Do you know?
I have a CD that my dad gave to me, back in the day. And so he knew that I was not going to be, I go to church. I'm Catholic. I go to church. And while I'm there listening to the priest, I go like, yeah, okay, And then I walk out the doors and I have no idea what he said. He's like, my mind forgets. And my dad he knew that about me. And so he gave me these little booklets that are called 15 Minutes with Jesus. And so I would read them, but now they have them on CD. So my dad gave them to me. And every morning before I come to work, I prep myself. And every day I listen to that thing, but every day I have a different message. And
okay, I'm writing this down because I'm going to need to do this too. Is it 15 Minutes with Jesus?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait a minute. It's in Spanish, but I did take the time to translate it. So I will send you the translated script.
Oh, good. And we'll put that on the show notes so everybody can, because I really want to, I'm going to take you up on this. I did not know you prayed for 45 minutes every morning. There's lots of secrets in the Norma here. This is awesome. When you say pray and you say you do it for 45 minutes, is this something that you do sitting down? Have you learned different ways to do it? How do you personally, how have you kept this as such a commitment?
So it's like a daily obsession that I have, and it's a
Okay.
practice and it's a discipline. And that's what I want. That's how I want to start off my day. So there are times where I will sit there, like if I'm going through a difficult, situation, or I'm in a difficult space, I will sit down and close my eyes and listen to it. Okay. If things are better for me, then you know what? I might put it on while I'm doing my makeup or something like that.
Okay.
Or I will put it on my phone, and then I have my pocket and I put it in my pocket. And no matter where I go in the house, I'm still listening to it.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
But I think it just depends on what kind of a mood I'm in, what kind of a space I'm in.
Yeah.
And then I do my meditation for at least 15 to 20 minutes, a day. And it's all combined. So I need like an extra hour in the morning just to be able to leave. But if I leave the house and I don't listen to that prayer, then the whole day I feel like something is missing.
Wow.
And it's not worth it to feel that way for me,
Wow.
So I have it in my car, I have it in my kitchen, I have it in my rooms, I have it everywhere. So I can just go out and listen to it, And I've done it where I'm at work and something will happen and I just start to feel like a little bit, nuts. And I just go, you know what, take a break. And I'll go to, and even if I only listen to 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I go, oh, I remember which 10 minutes is it. And it's about compassion, and it's about the people that you work with, and it's about what are you going to do for them today, And like in our case, our patients are very important to us, right? They're our members. And a lot of people kind of go like, okay, who's your most important customer, Norma? And yeah, the members are the most important, right? Because that's what we do. However, in my book, the most important people to me in this job are the employees.
Yeah.
I make everybody crazy because of that, because it's just like, no, wait a minute. If I don't keep the employees happy, and I know, trust me, that I'm not going to keep 100% of the employees happy,
Right.
but I will try. I will die trying. I'm bringing them s'mores 2 days from now, okay? Because it's national.
S'mores.
Yes.
Now, okay, give us some tools, because we all want to, I'm sure everybody here would love to take care of their people. They may not be a CEO, but give me some tools that you use to do that.
So we have something that is called Magic, and it's our customer service program. And it's like a report card of how they grade your interaction with customers. And the idea is that there's 33 things that you should be doing in any interaction or any phone call. And you have to try to get as many as possible. So there is like a little grading system, kind of like A, B, C, D, F, like when you were in school, and there are different pillars. And so the more points you get, the closer you are to like an exceptional call. And then we have something that is called the fish philosophy. And the fish philosophy has 4 initiatives. And this is a fish market, I think, where is
in
it?
Seattle.
In Seattle. And so it's about, this is your job. And just because you chose a job that you don't like, you should not be making your customers pay for this. Okay. So it talks to you about choosing your attitude, being there for each other, playing around, having fun at work. Okay. And then the 4th one, which is my favorite, is called Make Their Day. And I am all about making people's day, and I do that in my personal life. I do that in my professional life. And I literally plan stuff out, and I will go to great lengths to do crazy stuff for my nieces and for my nephews. And to me, it's just about building memories with them, because I'm going to be gone someday, right? And I want them to remember me, but I want them to remember their crazy aunt that did this, or whatever. My niece one day, she was very little, my oldest niece, and she went to, we were on the freeway and she saw a limousine. And then she's like, oh, Nina, I like that car. And I said, okay, mija, someday we're going to get on there. Her birthday, I came by in the limousine and picked her up in the limo with all the kids. And she, to this day, she still remembers that,
Wow.
And then one of my nephews loved the Lakers. Okay. And I asked him if he would spend the weekend with me, and he didn't have the heart to say no to me. So he goes, yeah, but he was very upset because he had to spend the weekend with me. And he had to miss the Lakers game. And so I told his parents, I said, give me all his Laker gear and put it in my trunk. So I came by to look for him, and we picked him up. And he later wrote an essay that was called The Happiest Day of My Life or something like that. And he described when I asked him to go, how upset he was.
Yeah, yeah.
And what he didn't realize is that I took him to a Laker game. So
Wow.
the Laker game that he was going to miss we were actually there in person.
Wow.
He was like a teenager and just like, no, whatever, he couldn't express his emotions or whatever. So okay, fine. But, and he wrote that. And to me, I didn't find out that he wrote this thing until many years later from one of my bosses who happened to be his teacher. And he goes, I just realized that one of my students wrote something about you. And I was like, what is it? So he showed, and I go, oh yeah, that was me. So I love doing stuff like that for the employees. I love doing it for, my nieces, for my nephews. And, if you're having a bad day and unfortunately you communicated to me what the perfect day would be like for you, then my job is to fabricate that day for you the next day, and I enjoy doing that a lot. And it's like, they don't have to be big things. They can be small things, they can be really small. Miriam Romana, who works in our HR department, she told me one day, like, I really want to go to Paris. And I just said, okay. And she goes, but I know I'm never going to be able to go. And I said, you're right. Not with that attitude. You're not going to be able to go. Next day when she came to work, I had a little piggy bank and outside her door. And so I said, you leave this piggy bank here. And I told everybody, so everybody would put quarters in there and whatever. And after 4 years, she went to Paris.
Wow.
And just little things, like that can make a difference. Obviously, we didn't pay for the trip, but we said, you know what, if you start, like saving money right now, yeah, you'll be able to go to Paris. But if you just keep talking about it and you don't put any action behind it, it's not going to happen. And so I would put a coin in there all of the time. And after a while, she's like, oh, come on, Norma. And then I passed around, I don't know, when you go to church and they pass a little basket around and you put money. So at the general meeting, I would pass the basket around and everybody would put in. And I gave them the money. I wasn't asking the employees to put the money in, but I would give them the money. People would throw $1, $10, here. And I think she went to the Eiffel Tower and had dinner there.
Wow.
I'm never going to forget. So
another great story on compassion with action, with real wisdom. So you're full of it. Holy cow. Well, keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off. You got so many. Keep going.
So anyway, so it's things like that. And so the fish philosophy has been in our life for 30 years. The magic training, it's called Make a Great Impression on the Customer, has been in our life. And those two things are linked. I mean, you cannot have fun at work if you don't, treat your customers well. Right. But I think the key to we've won the Best Workplace Award a few times. And one of the things that we've been doing since for 40 years, we had a committee where we formed this committee, and it's non-management staff only. And so you listen to them, and it's kind of scary, but I listen to the management team over here. But then on this side, I have to balance it out with, okay, you think you have this beautiful policy and procedure, but did you ask the people who are going to be impacted by that, which is them? Right. So if you don't ask those individuals, then, things may not go your way. So we've had this committee for the past 40 years. Okay. And I have only missed one meeting. It's one of my favorite meetings. I've only missed one meeting. And the reason I missed it is because I was in the hospital and the doctor came by and took my phone away. Otherwise I would have had to call cancel. Okay. And we listen, and we have anonymous suggestions. We have people who get an opportunity to ask questions, and we have the opportunity to answer their questions and to clear up any miscommunication that there could be. And to me, this was a scary committee when I first formed it. But over the years, it's become my best friend, And I'm not saying that we do everything that they want, but we listen to what they have to say. And they're like, Norma, can you please bring Phil's barbecue? And I'm like, I don't like barbecue sauce, but this is not about me. So fine, go ahead and bring Phil's barbecue, but just make sure that they do not put the barbecue on my chicken, that type of thing. They're little things that they may do, and it could be something big and it could be something small, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you express and you articulate and you demonstrate that you care about the employees. And to me, if I don't care about the employees, okay, then they're not going to care for our members. So to me, that's why the employees come first, because, I mean, we can have everything all set up for success, but if you have the wrong person in the wrong job with the wrong attitude, it's not going to work. Not going to work, So, anyways, so yes,
Wow.
here are my three big things.
Those exactly what I was hoping for. How about quotes? I know that you are a big person on quotes and you love quotes. What are some of the ones that you live by, that you're willing to share, that have helped you?
Okay, so my favorite of all time is I actually wrote it in my journal, the one with Mrs. Benter, and it goes something like, life is not measured by the number of breaths that we take, but by the moments that take your breath away.
Oh, nice.
I love that quote. Just absolutely love it.
So let me repeat it because I want to learn it. I've never heard this one before. So life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but the moments that take your breath away.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
When I got married, everybody expected me to have like this big fancy wedding. And I was like, nope, not going to happen. I asked everybody to come in jeans and a t-shirt because I wanted everybody to come. And I just, like some of my family members, I said, they're not going to come if I had this big thing. And I actually embroidered on my jeans. That was the saying that was on there. And I had it all there. And I have it on jackets. I have it on shirts. I have it everywhere. It's all over my house, because, it's just like, it's not about just coming to this life and breathing. It's like, what takes your breath away, and yesterday, I don't have any kids, but I have somebody that I help raise, one of my nephews, and he's like my son. And so his children are like my children, and for me to watch Joseph Garcia with Logan and with Madison, it takes my breath away. I just sit there and I just go like, oh my gosh. And Joseph's like, you didn't take enough pictures of me with Madison. I took 300 pictures. I took 300 pictures. And he's like, yeah, but you didn't catch her when she was smiling right now. I go, I have 300 pictures in 1 hour, Joseph. What do you mean? To see him like that with the baby, it's incredible because he and I never really wanted to have kids, but that doesn't mean that we don't like spending time with kids. We absolutely love it. And just to see Madison with Joseph, it takes my breath away. It's like, who cares if I'm breathing or not? But that moment is just like, wow, and I've been trying. Joseph's birthday is in a week, and I was trying to get him a picture and frame it, but I go, I have 1,000 pictures. Which one do I pick?
It's hard. How do you spend time, make time for kids? And I'll just ask that because I know how busy you are. There's so many things you do. How do you make that a priority?
So I put it on my schedule. Okay. And I don't mean like my schedule on my computer or anything like that. It's just, I have like this mental schedule. Okay. And again, I'm kind of a creature of habit. And it's like, these are the things that are important to me. Okay. So I like right now, every Saturday and Sunday, I'm all over San Diego looking for a coffee shop, and I don't drink coffee. I have my bucket list is to go to a different coffee shop every Saturday, every Sunday, not because of the coffee, but because I like the ambiance and I like the environment and I like being out there. And so we're like all over the map. Yesterday, I was up in Del Mar, and San Diego, that's like 45-minute drive from me. So I went up to Del Mar. And then my nephew called me. He was in Alpine. And so he said, hey, come see the babies. And I go, okay. So I drove all the way from Del Mar to Alpine. And so I always make time for that. And then at 10 o'clock, I'm always out to breakfast with Joseph. And then after that, from 1 to 5, I will spend time with kids. That's my kid time. And it doesn't matter whether they're my brother's kids or somebody else's kids or whatever. But I have things like during the day, and everything is like scheduled up here. And again, it's like a daily obsession to do the things. This is what I do on Monday. This is what I do on Tuesday. This is what I do on Wednesday. But it has to be fun also, because if it starts to feel like a chore, then I am not going to be as likely to want to do those things. And you know what? I'm like, nope, not going to happen to me. So, but I'm very deliberate about my practices. and I don't deviate too much from them, and nothing is ever the same, by the way. I'm always doing crazy stuff. I love planning stuff for people. I love planning stuff for myself. And, I have a nephew who tells me at work, everybody thinks I'm a workaholic. And my nephew says, "You're not a workaholic, you're a lazy holic." And I go, "Why?" Because I have my time that I will go home and put my foot up, because I've had some issues with my foot, and I put it up, and I will be there for 2 hours without doing anything according to him. But I'm watching TV, I'm falling asleep, reading my quotes, reading my books and stuff like that. But he says I'm a lazy holic. And I just say, whatever, because I don't take any work home. I will work 16 hours in the office, but I do not like taking work to my house. My house, again, is like my sanctuary, and I don't like to pollute my house with stuff from work, because not everything about work is fun, So I'll be here at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll be here till midnight. But once I get in that car, I use the drive from the office over to my house to kind of make that transition. And if Joseph wants me to cook dinner for him, he better be careful, because if he pisses me off and he wants me to talk about work at home, then he's not going to have a nice dinner.
All right. So how do you, I love that you're able to do that. What about people who work from home? Any suggestions on how they can keep the work away from the family life?
Well, that's a tough one for me, because I am not a work from home person, but
right.
I did have COVID, and so I had to accommodate. And what I did is I picked a room in my house, and I said, I'm going to make an office, a temporary office, and I stayed in there.
Okay.
And I stayed in there. And there are times where I will go out and read stuff in my family room or in my kitchen, but it has to be fun stuff.
Okay.
It has to be stuff that's from work, but it's got to have fun next to it, and things that I actually enjoy. To somebody else, it may look like work. To me, if it's fun, I'll do it. But I do say pick a place in the house, and it's not always possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when I had COVID, I just said, this is a place, and I got one of those temporary tables, and I put it out there like a patio table, put it in there. But man, the day that I went back to work, the night before, I had put everything away, and I said, I don't want. It was my meditation room, and I didn't want my meditation room to be associated with work. So as soon as I did it, I cleansed it and did all these little, things with just like my oils and my aromatherapy and my sage to clean out all of the work spirits that were left behind. So
you are so amazing. Let's I could go on and on and on, but I want to value. I know you got to go home. You need to get to go home one of these times, and same with me. What about gratitude? Now, we've talked a lot about, first off, let's just go with glad to be here. What does glad to be here mean to you?
So I am glad to be here because I did have a period in my life where I almost was not here. I had a near-death experience. And when you come out of something like that, you don't see the world the same way. There are times in my life where I wish that I would cry about things that used to matter to me, but they don't matter anymore. So I can't cry over them anymore. But that was after, but I went through a very difficult experience, and I was pretty cool, calm, and collected throughout the whole thing. My friend Chris Witt said that I was in denial about what was happening to me, which is okay. And he gave me permission to be in denial until I was ready to deal with what was going on with me. And that changed the way I saw the world, And so every day when I get up, like yesterday, with being with Madison and being with Logan, I was looking at them, and then the back of my mind goes, wow, I almost missed this minute.
Wow.
I almost missed this moment. And, and I think about the fact that I made it out. I recovered from that situation. It was a very difficult one, but I recovered. And so I'm very grateful that I'm here, and I am really glad to be here because I almost wasn't here, so, and then I would have never met you.
Yes. Wow. Well, and how does gratitude play into it? Because that's deep. I mean, I agree with you. I've had a near death experience on an aircraft carrier. And after that, you just see the world differently. You know, I like to describe it as ice cream tastes better. The grass is greener. Just every day is really precious. Just the little things. Where does gratitude play into your practice, and how do you practice gratitude?
So I love to journal. And so every day, I have a friend, his name is Ismael Cala, and he calls it the morning vomit.
Oh,
Every morning, you're supposed to vomit everything that's bad inside of you that you slept with. And you just like that, and you don't pay attention to grammar, you don't pay attention to spelling, you just like whatever. So once you finish that, then you have to write down 10 things that you're grateful for. And I am very religious about writing those things down throughout. Sometimes I don't do it in the morning, but throughout the day. And again, it's part of my daily obsession to do these things. And these are just things that I learned at different conferences. And so gratitude is way up there. And for me, I'm grateful that, I've had a lot of success in my life, but I've also had some huge setbacks. And at the end of the day, I just go, okay, how many minutes of happiness did you have? How many minutes of being upset did you have? You know, and you kind of like, I treat it like a math problem, you know, take the happy minutes and, you know, subtract whatever, and this is what you have left over. And every day I just try to do things that I actually enjoy doing. And I make no excuses for that. I don't apologize to anybody for who and what I am. I try to be myself. I'm quirky, I'm crazy, I'm funny, I cry, I laugh. And you know what? This is what you get, you know, and if you like it, that's great. And if you don't, I'm okay with that. And, you know, I have a lot of friends. I'm very lucky that way, but I also have people that don't like me a lot. And so, but that doesn't discourage me from trying to help people, you know. And I've had Miriam went up to me one time and she said, "Why are you helping this employee?" And I said, "Because she's in a bad place in her life." And Miriam goes, "But you know how much she dislikes you." And I said, "Yeah, but that's her problem, not mine." I said, "I'm not going to not help her just because she doesn't dislike me." And sarcastically, I did say, "When she gets to know me, she'll like me." And we're really good friends now, you know, but I just said,
wow.
you know, she heard something that I didn't say. That's okay. She's there. I'm not going to spend my time apologizing for something that I didn't say. And I said, but I'm never going to be discouraged. And I actually went to her and I said, "Look, the rumor mill says this. If this is what you're going through, I can help you, but it's up to you." And she was in shock. And she told me, "But you know that I don't like you, Norma." And I said, "That's your problem. Those are you need to deal with that, not me." And I said, "You hear you're an employee, and if this is what you're going through, I can help you this way." And it took her a while to, you know, warm up to me, but now we're good friends, you know.
Wow. Amazing. I think you are an angel walking on the planet, at least in my mind. I believe in angels. I think that's incredible. You're not in very good disguise, by the way, because your stories give you away. Stories give you away. What would, if you were to flip, this is my final question. If you were to flip the scenario where now you're the 95-year-old person and somebody younger is coming up to you to just spend time and ask for advice, what would you say?
So this is how I decide who I spend time with. Okay. And it's probably a very weird way to say it, but I love spending time with people whose eyes light up when they see me coming. You know, I love spending time with people, but I am that person that doesn't want to be in somebody's space if they don't want me. It doesn't mean that they don't like me. It just means that they're very busy with their lives. Yeah. And, you know, they have other stuff going. And you know what, when you're going to school, when you're trying to build your career, you may not have time for Auntie Norma, and that's okay. You know, but when I see somebody and they see me coming, I look at their eyes, and if their eyes light up and they call me, okay, fine, let's spend time together. And so that's how I decide who I mentor, you know, because I don't have a lot of time. And so I don't want to spend a lot of time talking to somebody who's not ready, because if they're not ready, to receive the advice or the information that you have, then, I'm wasting my time. And so I want to invest time in people. I want to invest time in the younger generation. And I do a lot of that. And I will do some crazy stuff for kids who want to listen, but I will not impose my presence in somebody's life. And I mean, anybody, it's just, it could be a friend, it could be my mom, it could be, my brothers, it could be, if they're busy with their life and there's no space in their life for me, then I don't want to impose my presence. I know they love me, I know they care about me, and I know that, one of these days, we're going to get together. But that's how I decide how I spend my time. And it depends on what it is that they're asking advice for. I never, ever try to give advice about something I know nothing of. However, I will always connect them to somebody who can. And it's just like Ms. Venter and one of the employees here. I'm not a coach. I'm not a psychologist. I'm my own psychologist. I try to stay, physically fit, mentally fit, spiritually fit, financially fit. But that doesn't mean that I know how to teach that stuff. So if somebody's looking for some advice, I will be happy to share my stories. But that doesn't mean that it's going to work for them. So if I can't help them, then I connect them with somebody else who can. And so again, that's how I invest my time these days. It's just, if you want to spend time with me and your eyes light up when you see me and my eyes light up when I see you, then more power to it,
Wow. Well, we've got the bookend now. To make you cry, we need to know if we're going to make you cry, and does someone's eyes light up when you see each other? There's the wisdom. Norma, I want to say thank you. I'm going to end with a glad to be here statement and then leave it up to you. I am so grateful for the depth of our relationship. First off, thank you for the first, meeting and taking it from there. But really, thank you for what you do for so many people. I've learned so much today in a deeper way, a wisdom way that I can apply. Lots of things that I need to do. And I'm definitely going to be reading those 15 minutes with Jesus. I can't wait to start there. But thank you for what you do for so many. And I'm just super glad that you're in my life and you're in everyone's life. So thank you. Over to you. Glad to be here.
The feeling is mutual. The feeling is, I don't have this feeling about too many people. And I am very lucky. I have like 5 or 6 speakers that I've hired for the company, and I've actually grew to call them my friends, and you're one of them. Chris Witt, you, and just so many. Bruce Bowen, to play for the Spurs, and I mean, he's just a great guy. He's wonderful. And so I've had the opportunity to become very close to some of the speakers, and it's been good for me, and I hope that it's been good for them also. So thank you for telling me that, because the feeling is definitely mutual.
Glad to be here, Norma. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. I'll see you tomorrow morning.